I'm Ty Collins, and today on the Lawrence University Career Center podcast, we're joined by Marissa Lake from the Lawrence class of 2022. Marissa earned her Bachelor of Music degree in vocal performance. A classical vocalist, Marissa's repertoire is too long to list here, but suffice to say, she's performed around the world to great acclaim. You can visit marissalake.com to see the full scope of her performances. She's currently in her second year studying at McGill University in Montreal, where she will earn her Master of Music and Opera Performance. And we can't leave out that she worked in the Career Center her entire time at Lawrence, both as a career assistant and career peer educator, and she guest hosted this very podcast 3 different times. Welcome back, Marissa.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
In my life, I have met rock stars and country stars and pop stars, but you're the first opera star I've gotten to know. Marissa, can you talk about how you got into classical and opera singing and maybe walk us through your career up to this point?
Yeah, of course. So I started off singing in choir in grade school. So pretty young. It was just like a little church choir sort of thing. And I sang all throughout high school. And in high school, I started doing solo and ensemble. I'm from Wisconsin. And so, our solo and ensemble would happen yearly, and I would compete in those. I would often do a lot of musical theater in high school. So I started off belting and singing more pop and rock things in the beginning. My voice teacher, though, in high school actually introduced me to singing classically and just kind of got me started in that direction. And that's when I realized I wanted to go to school for that. And so that's how I got to Lawrence, was to sing classically. And while at Lawrence, I was in my first opera. I didn't know what an opera was at the time, but I was Barbarina in The Marriage of Figaro, and that really kind of opened my eyes to the industry and kind of showed me that that's really what I wanted to do. And then COVID hit immediately a week after the closing of The Marriage of Figaro, and that was all chaos, as everybody knows. And so I had to reevaluate how I was going to go about singing, as pretty much everybody did, and every musician did as well. And during that time, I was trying to figure out if I wanted to go to graduate school, if I wanted to go to summer programs. Summer programs are also a huge thing. And I ended up actually auditioning for my first summer program and going to Chicago Summer Opera, the summer in between my junior and senior year. And that's where I got to sing in Handel's Alcina, which was very fun. And then my senior year, I auditioned for graduate schools, and I got accepted into McGill's Schulich School of Music in Montreal, Canada. And that is where I am now. Yes, I sing a lot here. I was in the world premiere of Dean Bury's new opera, Il Giudizio di Pigmalione. And coming up is Handel's Semele, where I will be the title role. And that is coming up at the end of March.
Well, you mentioned in there that it's important to do summer programs. I'm wondering if you can talk a bit more about that. And then also, you're coming off a busy summer right now. If you could talk about that a little bit as well.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So this previous summer, I was actually the program coordinator for the Bowdoin International Music Festival. It's in Brunswick, Maine. So I got to live there, which was very fun. I had never been to the East Coast before. But basically the Bowdoin International Music Festival is a string chamber festival, and I was the only singer there, which was also very fun. It was mainly an arts admin position. So what I was doing was I made all of their programs for their concerts. I helped them with their applications for their Young Artist Series concerts. And I also was kind of just like their main office person. So anytime someone had a question or people needed things printed, like music library stuff, that's also why I was there. In previous summers, yes, it is very important to do kind of summer programs or kind of summer intensive things. That being said, I'm not saying do pay to sings. Pay to sings are usually the ones that you pay a lot of money to go to like sing a little role in a chorus or something, or sometimes even very large roles. While these are very good opportunities, and I'm definitely not saying to completely not do them. There are other ways and a lot cheaper ways to basically get the exact same thing that you're looking for. So, for example, what you can do is if you're at Lawrence now, you can actually stay in Appleton for the summer and keep like taking lessons with your teacher. You could also do a role study with them. And role study is basically where you pick a role from an opera and you decide which one you want to do and you learn the entire thing with your teacher. That is also another way that is a lot cheaper than putting out like thousands of dollars to, sing a tiny role somewhere. Yes. So yeah, those programs are pay to sings are very nice sometimes, but also they can be extremely expensive. And so it's good to have other options as well. There are also some summer programs that are free, and I highly recommend kind of searching for those. There aren't a lot of them right now, I don't think, because of COVID, because COVID obviously kind of threw a wrench into things, things music, but yes.
And you did some other things too while you were here. I know you did some things with a local church and did private lessons. So there's lots of ways to get experience and build up your resume for grad school when that time comes.
Oh, yes. Yeah, definitely.
Well, you are in your second year now at McGill. I would like to hear, if you could, the difference between attending school in the US versus Canada. And then more specifically, how does studying music at the graduate level differ than studying music at a place like Lawrence? And you can talk about classes, faculty, student life, whatever you want to address.
Yeah, absolutely. So there really isn't a huge difference between universities in Canada and the US. However, I will say that schools in Canada are astronomically cheaper than in the US, especially for graduate programs where you're only staying for 2 years. If you're staying somewhere for 4 years, like for an undergraduate degree, obviously find the place that like works for you. But they are a lot cheaper in Canada. And also depending on where you end up being in the country, the cost of living could be a lot cheaper. As long as you aren't in like Toronto or Vancouver, I would say it's going to be quite a bit cheaper than a lot of like the major cities in the US. And then studying music at the graduate level is a lot more specified. You're actually not taking a lot of academic courses. So you're not taking like music theory. What else is there? Like musicology, all of those like basic classes that you're taking in undergrad. Instead, you're taking like lessons, coachings. A lot of your time is actually lessons and coachings. And there's also a lot more rehearsal time, especially if you're in their productions or in their operas. Or if you're in their choirs as well, you could be rehearsing with the choirs. As for like life outside of the classroom, you're oftentimes really great friends with your castmates or like your choir mates if you're in a choir, and also your studio mates as well. I know that at Lawrence, our studios were also very like close. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing for grad school. And I feel like the biggest difference or culture shock I had from moving from Lawrence to McGill is that Lawrence never had a graduate program. It's mainly it's all undergraduates. And so everybody's pretty young. However, once you go to McGill, there are people like in their PhDs and like you're singing on the stage with these people that are like 45 and have had these crazy careers and stuff, which can definitely be a culture shock. So yes, be prepared for that.
We've talked a bit about being at grad school. Let's talk more about preparing for grad school. What should students at Lawrence who are getting close to making that decision about grad school be doing now? How should they be preparing?
Yeah, so I would say it really depends on which schools you're looking into going to. Definitely research the graduate programs that you're interested in and try to have kind of like a laundry list of all of the programs that you like or all of the schools that you're interested in. I would say for any graduate program anywhere, be prepared to learn your music well and extremely fast. Because while in undergrad, I know, especially at Lawrence, you sit down with your teacher, you pick out all of your recital rep that you want to learn like months before your actual recital. And that is really good. And it's really good to learn like start learning by doing that, things very slowly. However, by the time you're in grad school, it's like you have 3 days before coaching and they just gave you the music and you have to like have it ready for that coaching in those 3 days, which can be a lot. So definitely be prepared for that. Maybe talk to your teachers at Lawrence about it too and be like, I want to start working on like learning my music a little bit faster. Obviously, don't rush it. If your teacher says, you're not ready, definitely listen to them. But yes, definitely know that is a thing. Research the programs that you're interested in. A lot of them differ. Some graduate programs are very huge, like they accept tons of singers and they put on these huge productions. Other ones are very small and a lot more intimate, and it all depends on what you're interested in and looking for. If you want more like one-on-one time with your coaches and your teachers and your professors, maybe a smaller program is better. Or if you just want to be thrown into like the whole opera world right away, maybe auditioning for the bigger programs is better for you. Mm-hmm. And also during your research of the graduate programs, try to find teachers that you want to work with. Your teacher is going to be kind of that anchor for you while you're in graduate school, and also take sample lessons with them. So once you find a teacher that you really like, I will say 90 to 95% of teachers, any sort of voice teacher, their first lesson is going to be free. So take advantage of that, and definitely, seek out these teachers and ask them for a sample lesson.
You are on track to be a performer, but not every conservatory student will make a career out of performing music. What would you say to them regarding their choices? What are some other career paths you might encourage them to look into?
Yeah, so in the music side of things, we have this thing called a portfolio career, which you may have heard of or maybe not. But basically what that means is that, yes, you do performing, yes, you do singing. However, you also have outside skills. A lot of people just like choose one to run with, or me, I have like two kind of that I run with. And basically what those other skills are, they can be anything else, music or arts or theater related. So you have arts administration, you have production teams, so like stage crew, stage directing, stage managing, things like that. Music teaching, if like teaching lessons, if you really want to do that full time, or even just classroom teaching, that's also an option. Also look into things like house management and theater management. That's also a really cool thing to get into. I guess that's kind of a branch of arts administration. But yeah, kind of building your portfolio is an amazing thing to have because it's always going to be a fallback. And this is especially important if you're a freelance musician as well. Because like, let's say you have like 3-ish pretty large gigs a year, you still need to pay rent those other months too. So it's always nice to kind of have something else at home to rely on. For me, I definitely really enjoy arts administration. That's why I kind of did arts administration this past summer. And I also have recently been getting into production and stage management as well. So yeah, kind of explore. It's a very fun industry to kind of find things to do in. I know a lot of people that do marketing as well, like kind of music marketing. They make websites for musicians. That's a really big market right now. But yeah, kind of shop around and see what else interests you.
I know that you have spoken a bit about the different learning cultures at graduate school versus at Lawrence. Looking back at your time at Lawrence, what would you say was your best experience here? And what could Lawrence have done better to prepare you for what came next?
Okay, I'm not just saying this because I'm on your podcast, but I really liked working for the Career Center.
And I did not pay you to say that.
No, he did not. No, but I really did enjoy that. And that also helped me with my portfolio career. So thank you for that. But I really did enjoy being on the conservatory side of things, like being in the voice department and kind of learning from all of those people. Lawrence has like a very good voice faculty for being kind of like in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin. So definitely take advantage of that if you're there right now. if there's anything like Lawrence could have maybe done better, I would think, and this is kind of actually a lot of conservatories do have this. I'm not sure why Lawrence doesn't, but just more financial support for students going out and doing auditions. Application fees for graduate schools are a lot of money, and it can be very discouraging sometimes from people that like want to do these programs, that like they don't have the means to sit here and, you know, buy a plane ticket to go to New York and do their audition. And this, I mean, thankfully, after the pandemic, we've had a lot of video auditions being things, but not everywhere does that, and not everywhere does Zoom auditions. And so if there was one thing that Lawrence could have done more, or maybe something that they should think about implementing, it's having some sort of like stipend system that people can apply for to help with going out and doing these auditions.
Open-ended question here for students considering grad school for music. What else would you say to them? Something we haven't covered yet.
Yeah, I would say this goes for, I guess, anyone at any point in their singing career, but especially for those considering grad school, just to be aware of. But just know that you belong and that there is a place for you in this industry. Imposter syndrome is huge as a singer. So it hits some of us in undergrad, and I would say that a majority, it hits you in graduate school. I know it hit me last year. Last year was my first year at McGill, and it can be a lot being surrounded by all of these amazing singers that are coming from these other programs. But just always know that everyone in grad school at the beginning is coming from different places. Some people come from these huge universities with huge opera programs, and they got all of these opportunities. And then other people are coming from, you know, small town Wisconsin, where there weren't a lot of opportunities. That's kind of the beautiful thing about it. And the beautiful thing about art is like coming together and using all of those skills. And also a big thing is be sure, and I mean, you should be doing this now with your teacher in undergrad as well, but especially in grad school too, is work with your teacher to find your own individual voice. It can be really easy to compare yourself to others and, you know, compare yourself to, you know, your peers around you, and also what you hear on the internet or what you're hearing in the opera houses that you're going to. But work with your teacher to find your authentic voice. You don't want to end up sounding like, you know, Joyce DiDonato, who's at the Met currently. Your voice is great, and it is enough for this industry, and there is a place for it in this industry.
You have a great opportunity ahead for you. You've got the lead in Handel's Semele coming up. Tell us more about that. And then also, when you think your time on stage is over, what do you see yourself doing then?
Handel's Semele is going to be very fun. It's going to be at the end of March, so we haven't really started rehearsing for it yet, but I'm learning all of the music. It's a very fun show. It should be live streamed as well, so hopefully anyone can watch it once it's out and recorded. As for what I'm going to do after I'm done singing, I really am planning on working in arts administration or also teaching. I have some students now, and I really enjoy teaching, and I can definitely see myself maybe doing that at an academic level after I'm done singing and I'm done with the stage.
Yeah. Well, I won't be at Lawrence anymore at that point. I'll hopefully be retired, but you know, if not, you can always come back and work in the Career Center again with me.
Yeah. Yep. That's the plan.
And folks, Marissa worked in the Career Center her entire time at Lawrence, and is the measuring stick by which we compare all other student workers. So I appreciate that you appreciated working with us while you were here.
Yes, for sure.
So Marissa Lake from the Lawrence class of 2022, thank you for joining us on the Career Center podcast.
Yes, thank you for having me.